Hello and welcome to Disctv, the show that brings you the world of disc golf. I'm Brian Sullivan. This week we're in Warwick, New York for the New York State Championships. Now this course has multiple configurations. It's tough from the shorts, it's tough from the longs, and it's tough in between. Who's going to be our winner? Stay tuned and find out. Disctv is on the air right now. Also this week, we'll learn about disc golf's early days from Dan Doyle, PDGA member number 310. Plus, you'll get a good look at one of the most beautiful and challenging disc golf courses in the world. It's all about disc golf. This is Disctv.
Good. Hot.
Disctv is brought to you in part by the Professional Disc Golf Association, guiding disc golf into the future. Irving's famous Chicago-style hot dogs. For red hot lovers, make it Irving's. Maceman Disc Golf Gear. Expect the best. And by DiscLife.com, the world leader in disc golf. Welcome to Disctv's coverage of the New York State Championships here in Warwick, New York. I'm Brian Sullivan. With me is this weekend's tournament director, Bill Newman. Bill, thanks for having us out.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Tell us first a little bit of the history behind this event.
Basically, as far as I know, this tournament started about 20 years ago. I ran it for about 3 or 4 years in Mount Kisco, which is about an hour from here. And for the last 3 years, we run it here at Warwick.
Which is a beautiful park and a very unique park in that you have 2 baskets on every hole. Let's talk a little bit about the course.
Right, we have 2 baskets on every hole, also a long tee and a short tee. So there's 4 layouts that you could play out here anytime you want. Also, we try to get uphills, downhills. There's a fair amount of wooded holes and a number of wide open, longer holes.
And speaking of long, I know that the long-to-long setup is very long indeed. Do you know the length of that?
I believe it's almost 9,000 feet. It's about 8,800 feet, and it plays at a pro par of 68. So, you know, that's going to challenge the top guys.
Speaking of the top guys, who's here?
We're happy to have Brian Schweberger, Brian McCree, local Steve Brinster, basically lead the field, and there's a number of fellas below them trying to get into the Final Four.
And if you had to make your call right now, Bill, who do you think might be running away with it this weekend?
I don't know. McCree looked pretty good. He shot 11 down, which is a course record on the short-to-short layout. So either him or Steve Brinster is tough to beat. This is local course.
Bill, thanks again. Let's get you right out to the action. The first signs of autumn are just beginning to appear here in Warwick, New York, just in time for the New York State Disc Golf Championships. The beauty of this course is a favorite among many of the top pros, and this weekend, no exception in the beauty department. Now, it's hard to imagine that Manhattan is only a 90-minute drive from this peaceful park. We saw a ton of amazing disc golf this weekend, and we begin with the pro women. Alicia Rolano from Jersey. She had the basket dialed in from all over the place, but could not close the deal. Heartbreaker. Tough round 2 on the long layout kept the pressure firmly affixed. Rolano close, not close enough. 4th place. Joy No Fear Heartwell from Massachusetts. Big putts, and Heartwell's fast out of the gate at 5 over par. She would go on to struggle a bit in the longs, but checking in with a 91 in the second. Solid game in the final round. 3rd place overall for Heartwell. Another Massachusetts native, Jennifer Jensen, an important putt. Now the disc wedges itself between the bars of the basket. It's supported by the basket. That is a good putt according to the rules, but you got to pull that sucker out before it falls out. No good, valuable lesson, great shooting otherwise, 2nd place. Leslie DeMarc, New Jersey by way of Kansas City. Now she's been out on tour all year with Steve Brinster, and she got game. Round 1, short layout. DeMarc pounds on this course with a 1 over par, 55. Now the key to winning here is to keep your shots in the fairway, and as always, you got to hit those putts. DeMarc kept the putts coming in round 2, outshooting the rest of the field by at least 10 strokes. Round 3, more of the same, and a very respectable 10 over par on the mid-length course layout. DeMarc is your New York Women's State Champion. Hope you like what you've seen so far, because you ain't seen nothing yet. Open Division, New York's Joe Klosky He's 50 feet out, and this one is going to be good. He's on his way to 6 under par in the first round. Round 2, more of the same, an 8 over round of 62 from the super long layout. Klosky again from 50, and he's just going to make this look like child's play. 4 over after regulation. Klosky looking good. Brian Mad Dog McCree, the North Carolina Terror, took a bite out of the short layout in round 1, setting a new course record with an 11 under par, 43. Nobody else even close. Second round, hole 1. He's got this dialed in. The shot is going to bounce right off the rim of the basket. Brian McCree, 5 over after regulation. Now, home course advantage this weekend goes to Steve Brinster, who has not only honed his skills here in Warwick, but he helped to design the course. Smart, steady disc golf in the first 2 rounds, although a couple of frustrating moments on the long layout would bring some bogeys. Then, Brinster lights a fire in round 3, where he could do no wrong. Virtually flawless, he worked his way to 2 under par for the round, and that is going to be another new course record, thanks to some amazing putts like this. From 80 feet, and Brinster takes it to the house. The strong finish puts Steve Brinster into a 2-way tie for second place with Joe Klosky. They sit at 4 over as we head into the final 9. Here's Raleigh's Brian Schweberger. Now look closely to see if his head ever spins around, because the guy was playing like a man possessed. Round 1, 3 out of the lead with an 8 under par, 46. Not bad for a warm-up. It gets better. Round 2 from the long layout, the really tough, nasty, wicked long layout. Schweberger is 2 over par. Now, it doesn't sound impressive unless you've played this course and you were made aware that that round set yet another new course record. 100 feet out, Brian Schweberger in the zone. He leads it by 8. It's the New York State Disc Golf Championships from Warwick, New York. Stay tuned. The final 9 holes are coming up. You are watching Disctv. Leslie DeMarc is the New York State Women's Champion this weekend. Leslie, a great job.
Thank you very much.
Now, you and Steve Brinster have been on tour all year long. Clearly, that experience is paying off for you.
Most definitely. My game is more consistent, and I have a handful of shots, the sidearm, the roller, that I can throw into the bag now that on the Warwick course you definitely will need to use.
Now, you shot great all weekend. Was one particular round where you were just especially on fire?
Definitely. The long to long round, it's a par 68, and I shot in the 70s, and I think that was the key.
Great weekend of disc golf for you. Leslie, congratulations.
Thank you.
So what year did this course go in, Dan?
It was finalized in April of 1999.
Boy, it looks great. Time to play one of the holes that the pros are going to be playing this weekend. We're at Breakwell Steel Course here in Warwick, New York. We're on hole 18, and we're with course designer Dan Doyle. Dan, tell me about the hole.
Well, we're actually playing from the silver tee here. We have 2 sets of tees on every hole. We're playing from the short tee. We've selected the long basket to play to. There's a lot of different shots that you have to have in your bag to play this hole properly. There's a tree line in front of us, there's a second tree line, and then there's OB on the whole left side.
Now, I can't see the long basket from here, so where are we going?
We're basically heading out. Most people would play just to the left of this tree in front of us, through the gap between the cedars, and then it's a slight dogleg right, through a tree line, and out into an open field about another 200 feet.
And we've got a headwind today, almost a headwind anyway. It's probably 10 to 15 mile an hour. Is that going to really affect the way we play this hole?
Probably not. It actually may help. I think it feels like it's coming from the left a little bit, so it's probably going to take the disc away from the OB area, so it should work in our favor.
And our total distance?
We've got about 700 feet from here.
Let's make this thing happen.
Okay.
So what's your game plan here, Dan?
Well, because accuracy on this drive is a lot more important than distance, I'm going to go with a slightly understable driver. I'm not going to try to throw it too hard. I want to be in a certain position out in the fairway.
Show me the way.
Okay.
Oh, you got a nice flip on that.
And that's exactly where I want to be.
Okay, Dan, I'm just going to try to follow you, man. That was a beauty. I'm
Okay.
just going to hope to get anywhere near that.
Okay, that'll work.
Okay.
That'll give you a look at it.
So what's the course record from the longs, the blue to blue?
Blue to blue is 62, but I think that may get broken this afternoon.
All right, meantime, I got a long way to go and no roller window, so I'm gonna have to air this one out.
Yeah, you see air shots and rollers from here.
Oh, turn, God dang it.
That's going to roll back in bounds. You're safe.
Ow. Sweet drive.
Yeah, this is exactly where you want to be. It gives me an air shot directly at it. Shouldn't have to worry about the OB here. Probably have about 320 feet.
Looks to be a putt.
Yep.
All right, well, at least I'm not OB. Is there anything behind the basket, like a big...
Nothing behind it. You just really got wind here to worry about.
Okay.
This shot tends to get a little bit tricky because of depth perception. It's hard to judge how hard to throw it when it's in the open field.
Sit. Oh yeah, I see
right
what you mean.
over the top. You're putting. Good shot.
Dan, these are the newer type of baskets. How do you guys like these?
We like them.
Do you?
Yep.
They catch real nice for you?
And the color coding helps us too.
Nope. Got the potential 3 on the big 700-foot hole. Let's go.
Yep.
Oh. Nice hole.
Thank you.
Tough hole, tough
Yep,
course.
absolutely. And we didn't play the toughest one either.
It's Breakwell Steel Disc Golf Course in Warwick, New York. And Dan, if people are looking for more information about the course and tournaments here, where can they go?
They should go through the Mid-Atlantic Disc Club, www.madc.org.
It's beautiful out here, so come disc golfing in New York. As we all know, disc golf is a growing family sport. Right now, let's meet one of our favorite disc golf families. They're the Heartwells. Let's start with you, Steve. I know you've been involved in disc golf a long time, and your roots go even farther. You were the man in charge of the course directory, PDGA course directory, for many years.
That's right. Ted Smethers called me up one time and asked, he was going for a volunteer program to try to get some folks to take some load off the PDGA staff, and we talked about a course directory, and we turned it into a listing, to a full-fledged directory, and I started publishing it, and we did for 15 years before I passed it on to Cliff Town.
So the next time you're looking to find a course and you check the directory, you have this man right here to thank. Now, Steve, when did you get started in disc sports?
Right after college. I went to Bucknell University, and we used to play objects on campus, but then I went to California on a business trip after school, and I played with a friend of mine. He introduced me to disc golf on baskets at Huntington Beach in California. Great course.
Now, Joy, I know that you have been involved in disc sports as well for a long time, but you didn't begin with Steve. Tell me your roots.
No, actually I started at UMass in Amherst, and I was on the one of the very first women's ultimate teams at UMass, and mostly played with the men because there really weren't enough other women's ultimate teams to play with. And then from there, got into disc golf when I met this guy, and we've been to many PDGA Worlds since then, up until these guys came along.
And you were actually in a disc or a frisbee class, right, in college?
That's right.
And what year was that?
That was in 1980, and we had Mr. Pete Holshoe, and another guy named Chad from California. And that was a great introduction to a lot of the different throws that I still use, and it was really helpful.
Leslie, let's hear your story. First of all, tell me how old you are.
I'm 13.
And when did you start playing disc golf?
Started when I was 7.
That's a long time, and you're a pretty accomplished golfer from what I understand.
I practice putting a lot, and, it's been a while. It takes a lot of practice to make perfect. It definitely does, but I'm getting there.
You're playing in the junior division now. Are you looking forward to joining the amateur ranks?
I am.
You got an idea when that might be?
I don't know. I'm doing pretty good now. I'm thinking maybe in the next year or two.
All right.
They'll probably make you in the next year or two.
Yeah, he's actually been winning some novice divisions in some of the courses that we've been playing with recently.
All right, Darren, and let's hear your story. Tell me how old you are.
I'm 11.
You're 11 years old, and when did you start playing disc golf?
When I was 7.
7. Wow. So, what is it about the game that you really like?
Well, I don't know. I just like throwing and putting and driving and stuff like that.
Now, your dad told me earlier that he didn't really push you into the game. You said, hey, I want to play.
Yeah, I guess so. I don't really remember that much.
He also saw his brother play and he said, I gotta catch him.
So if you ever doubted that disc sports are just terrific for families, here's living proof right here, the Heartwell family. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Yeah, that's right. Thank
you.
you.
It's Apple Fest days here in Warwick, New York, one of the many communities around the country this weekend celebrating the fall harvest. I'm here today with Dan Doyle. He's PDGA number 310. Dan, you've been an important part of this game for a long time. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, I started out in about 1974 was when I was introduced to disc sports. I went to school at Rutgers down in central New Jersey, and my first day on campus, I ran into 2 guys having a catch, and it turns out that was Stork, Dan Roddick, and Irv Kalb, who's one of the inventors of the game of Ultimate. So it was kind of like a kid going out in the 1920s and running into Lou Gehrig or Babe Ruth having a catch with a baseball. So I really got turned on to the game by the right people.
Dan Stork Roddick, of course, being PDGA number 003 and a very important member of the disc golf community.
Definitely, yep.
Wow, that's quite a start.
Yeah, it was great.
So did you guys actually, hang out and play Ultimate and do stuff at Rutgers?
Stork at the time was probably the main guy in disc sports in the world, and he was one of the main guys as far as the Rutgers Ultimate Frisbee team was concerned. So he talked me into coming out and trying to play Ultimate because I was a runner, and it was a natural fit for me to go from running to Ultimate, especially learning from those 2 guys.
Here in the northeast of the United States, this is really the crux of where the whole disc, activity began. This is really where it all started. Tell me a little bit about, as you developed through the years, and what you were doing. I know you were involved in Ultimates for a long time.
Yeah, back when I started playing, most of the big tournaments were overall events where you'd go and you'd play in 5, 6, 7 different events. So that's really, I got exposed to all the different disc sports at that time, and it got to the point where I had to decide, all right, where was my recreational time going to be spent? And I chose to spend it playing Ultimate. I was a regional coordinator in the early 80s. I played on 5 national championship teams, including a Masters team in England in 1995 and in Toronto in 1991. So I pretty much played Ultimate for 25 years. I was playing disc golf at the time, but I was having trouble with my hamstrings, and I said, I can't keep playing Ultimate like this. I'm going to be in trouble. So I evolved now into playing disc golf full time.
Do you think that's a pretty natural evolution for people who may start in Ultimate to eventually end up in disc golf?
I think it is. It's always been strange to me how most people that play disc sports, they don't play too many of the other disc sports. They seem to concentrate on just one. But I think more and more now, as some of us decide we just don't want to play Ultimate anymore, our bodies are too trashed, that disc golf is a lot less strenuous on our bodies. So I think it is a natural evolution.
Let's get back to Ultimate for a second. Give me an idea of the scope of the Ultimate scene in the Northeast today.
Well, just going back a little bit, the Northeast, just about all the World Championship teams for the first 20, 25 years of the sport were from either Boston, New York City, somewhere in the Northeast. So this has always been the hotbed. I don't know if the Northeast is still the hotbed anymore. It's because it's become such an international game. I think a lot of the other countries are catching up to the Northeast, and certainly other parts of the United States are catching up to the Northeast. So I think it's pretty much spread out now in terms of where the best teams are.
And what about disc golf in the Northeast right now? What's the state there?
It's growing rapidly. Just in New England, Massachusetts, for instance, I think there were only about 2 or 3 courses in Massachusetts going back maybe 5-6 years ago. And I think there's about 10 courses in Massachusetts alone now. Maine has a bunch of really good courses. It's just, it's growing phenomenally, and especially around here in Warwick. We didn't even have a course in Warwick 3 years ago, and we've got hundreds and hundreds of people coming out and playing on a regular basis now. So it's really taken off.
You know, it's really striking to me, Dan, that the games that people have come up with this flying disc, it started, you know, it's such a basic level with some college kids, you know, throwing them around there in the diag, and then came the fad years in the 70s when freestyle was big and the dogs and all that. And now, how it's really evolved into these sports. You've got ultimate and you've got disc golf, and both are really on the grow.
Yeah, absolutely. And the PDGA's done an incredible job with fostering growth, getting it down to the grassroots level. There's more and more players as the prize money starts to increase. There's more and more players who can afford to take off their jobs and just play full time. I think there's also a lot of people like me who stopped playing ultimate and now are putting our energy into trying to make the sport grow. So it's a great time for disc sports, and especially disc golf. It's amazing just how much it's taken off, like I said, here in Warwick. It's unbelievable.
Dan, we really enjoyed playing on the Warwick course here this weekend. I mean, really one of the great courses in the country. Can you give us a couple other tips on some really hot courses in the Northeast?
The other good course around here is Mount Kisco, which is about an hour east of here. It's a fairly wooded course. There's a course up in Massachusetts, Buffinville Dam, that I haven't been to, but I've heard incredible things about that. And there's a couple of pay-for-play courses up in Maine. Enman Field is one of them. A guy has a 27-hole course, pay-for-play, up in the woods in Maine. So there's a lot of good courses going in. I mean, I could tell you about the good courses now, and a couple months from now there'd be new ones that might even be better than the current ones. So it's a great time.
Well, the light is fading, and I think there's probably a couple of caramel apples in our near future. Dan Doyle, thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Great. Okay. Thanks, Brian.